So I personally think the most common mistakes that people make when they do bone fishing is that for us in the Seychelles, we do see a huge number of bonefish. And you know, people when they see big numbers of bonefish, they obviously see big numbers of fish, and then they fish for these big numbers of fish, but then they realize they're smaller fish, and then suddenly people change their minds and they want to fish for these bigger fish, and then they start fishing for bigger fish, and they don't realize that bigger bonefish are harder to catch. I mean, as with other big fish, they're smarter, they've been around for a long time, they're big for a reason. And again, especially a lot of the times when people are fishing for skinny water bonefish, they don't realize that it's actually very technical. You know, that fish has got its back out, it's got its tail out, it's very aware of its surrounding, it's very vulnerable to all sorts of elements, birds or whatever. So, you know, you got to walk and stalk those fish a lot better. They're not just a bonefish that's going to come and devour your fly. You need to be ready to make a good cast, a good presentation. And again, fly selection, you know, very common mistake I see that people make with bone fishing is will rock up in the Seychelles and they'll pull out a fly and say, this works good in the Bahamas, this works good in Christmas Island. And we'll say, you're in the Seychelles, so that fly's not going to work here. And believe me, let's just try the flies that work here and have been tested here. I've always had an open mind with people trying different flies, but you know, these areas have been worked hard by the guides that are in that area, and we've kind of specialized in what this specific fish eats. So when you're fishing the Seychelles, don't think you're in the Bahamas. When you're fishing in the Seychelles, you're fishing the Seychelles. So treat every area as a unique and different area. One fly might not necessarily work at another fly. The other key element that I see people make with bone fishing is when they try and land a bonefish by themselves. You know, I've seen more rods break on bonefish than any other fish around there. You know, a lot of people think, okay, I've got this bonefish, nose is out. He tries and goes for the leader, pinches the hand, and doesn't wait for the guide to help him, and boom, that fish jumps off again, the rod tip bends and breaks. And I've actually seen that happen more than with any other fish. So those are just a few common mistakes I've seen people make with bone fishing.